are here with life story number 4, Samuel Burton. Burton, so any relation to the snowboarding Burton equipment company?
Not that I'm aware of.
No. Okay.
And I believe that's his mother's last name, apparently.
The Burton
Yeah.
snowboarder.
Yeah, but I think I'm wearing it. I have a Burton.
Oh yeah,
the Burton Adventure Company shirt.
Nice.
Right. Anyway.
Yeah.
There you
Nice.
go.
Sweet. Okay, so no relation to the Burtons, but you do talk kind of funny.
Yes.
So what's up with that?
Well, it's a result of having been born and raised in God's own country.
Yeah. Hobbit land, right?
Hobbit land.
We're the hobbits.
Middle Earth.
Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Where the hobbits were filmed.
Yeah.
Like 15 minutes from where you lived or something, right?
Well, yeah, the Shire was about in a little town about half an hour away from where I grew up. So, which is the Waikato, which is kind of a big dairy farming area. It's lots of rain and green grass, and cows like it.
Cool.
So
sweet. Well, before we dive into New Zealand and where you've come from, where are you at right now? Kind of in your life and work, family, kids, wife. What's a day in the life of Sam look like today?
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So I am married to Victoria, who's an Edmontonian, and we met here in Chilliwack, and it's got a bit to do with how come I'm still here, coming up 15 years, July 1st. I thought it was lucky to get married on July the 1st.
Yeah.
Because it's Canada Day and it would be very hard to forget my anniversary. Plus also I was trying to immigrate, so I thought maybe that might help. Not really. It just worked out. And we have 3 kids. Aria's 12, Joe is 9, and Lizzie is 6, Elizabeth. And I moved here in 2004 and met Victoria not long after and stuck around. And for work, I work at the University of Fraser Valley. I'm a audio-visual technician, which means today what it meant is I sat in front of a laptop trying to debug some very boring programming stuff to make projectors and TVs and lights work in a room.
Nice.
Actually, no, I quite enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, and what maybe everybody watching might not know, that any progressions that we've made on our sound and video over the course of the last year from the very beginning of our online streams has been mostly in part of Sam's wisdom and sharing and technical skills in trying to coach me along as I've tried to learn all of that. But any improvements we've made have certainly come at the hands of Sam, for sure.
Wow.
Along that way. But
thanks.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been good. No more messages that it's not loud enough. And it's good. It's been really helpful. So you grew up in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Where did you meet Jesus? Was it in New Zealand?
Yeah, it was. So my parents, Mum a little bit before I was around. She became a Christian as a teenager, but wasn't super connected to any kind of church. And then she met my dad, who was British, and he was not a Christian when they met and got together, but he became a Christian, I think, from I was about 1 years old, and then they started attending an Assemblies of God Pentecostal church when I was a kid. So it was quite a big church for New Zealand sizes, like about 1,500 people in those days, which is quite a big church on any scale anyway. But in New Zealand New Zealand's pretty low key about my stuff, so I don't tend to go for bigger is better as a rule, but this was an exception. So, I grew up in that. It was very much a holy roller, full on Pentecostal two-step, speaking in tongues, the whole 9 yards church. But as a kid, I thought it was cool. I think Mum and Dad led me to the Lord when I was about 4 years old. I still have some sort of vague memory of that. But I think I got saved quite a few times because there was, the altar calls. I think I thought that was pretty fun to go up for an altar call. So I got saved quite a few times. And but I don't know. I think the standout thing for me growing up in that church environment was just the basic idea that God wanted to show up to church. And there was always kind of this expectation that, something, well, maybe it was a bit wacky sometimes, but, but that was the presence of God was something that you expected to sort of feel, and you grow up with that. And, throughout my life, I've never really, drifted from that being real to me. So I think for me it was very much experiential, but also as I grew up, my mum and dad used to, we used to always talk pretty seriously about different things. My dad liked to throw us curly questions like, so where in the Bible does it say there's a Trinity? And I think I was about 12 when he asked us that. And we goes, you shouldn't ask that kind of question. But because of that, we used to really wrestle with the truth we were hearing. It wasn't just something wasn't just experiential. It was also something we really, tried to, already thought about and wrestled with the concepts. And so that's how I sort of came into it.
Mm-hmm. So how did you end up coming to Canada from New Zealand?
I'll give you the short version of the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I mean, the short version is that it was around, I think, 2002, and I was just coming up on 30, and basically my life as I had known it and had in New Zealand, and sort of just how things were rolling along, kind of the wheels all fell right off. And I really found myself completely off the map. I just, things happened that were not at all how I expected. A good Jesus boy, you realise you've sort of developed this idea, following Jesus, in doing the right things, there's kind of a way your life should go, and it just all fell apart where I was at, and I really just ended up having completely no concept of what I was supposed to do now. I didn't really have I was working at places, but I didn't have a career as such or anything like that. So I came over here because I had some friends from Chilliwack that I'd met years before in the 90s. And I came over here to kind of get away and try and get my head around things. And my friend was pastoring a little church. It's not around anymore. It was a full gospel church here in Chilliwack, and there was about 10 people in it. And I think I got off the plane, and I was feeling pretty messed up. I got off the plane and I had my guitar, and he said, "Oh, why don't you lead worship on Sunday?" So I did, and I just felt presence of God like I hadn't felt for ages. Like it's just a pretty powerful anointing doing that, and basically just made me think, well, maybe there's something for me here. So I went back, and things kind of resolved with what was going on for me in a completely unresolved way. If that makes any sense. But at least I knew where I was, kind of, and I'd gotten offered a position in my job, and as soon as I got offered it, I knew it wasn't. I didn't want to take it. I didn't want to move further up in the company. It just was like, I found myself at this kind of place where I could really do anything. I didn't have things tying me down, so I felt like I should this is the time to take a risk because I've got nothing to lose. It's not. So I came back over here, and that was 2004, and teamed up with my buddy, and we were going to see if we could get this church to go beyond having 10 people in it. And in the process, because there were 10 people and nobody sort of my age, I ended up making some connections with people from another church, and that's how I met Victoria through that. And then about a year after we got married, and she, took a bold step and came and joined our little raggedy church. And it turned out that we were helping my friend to bury the dead horse.
Okay.
It wasn't so, and that was really tough for us all.
Okay.
But it became pretty clear. It was just like it just wasn't flying. Like we had some great moments and some great times together, but it just wasn't going anywhere. So we ended up heading back to the church that Victoria had been part of here, and then I ended up getting a job there, and that's how it all rolled out.
That's all
and
rolled
I'm still here.
And there you are. So most of your life then, you've journeyed with Jesus from the time you were a kid to now, obviously wrestling through having a faith that was your parents and something that you did, and it becoming your own.
Yeah.
Through the journey. And what's today in your journey, what's one of your biggest wrestles right now with faith, with God, with your whole journey and as it's unfolding? I didn't prep you for that one at all, so I'm dropping it on you.
That's all good. Like I wouldn't say that I have any kind of theological wrestles or anything like that. For me, it's really just in terms of probably dealing with anxiety, kind of stress, my emotional sort of world, if you like, because I tend to be a little like disconnected from my emotions. Like it's not like I'm not having them. I can't often articulate what they necessarily are. And my wife Victoria helps me a lot with that, because she'll usually tell me, she'll say, "What's wrong?" And I say, "Oh, I don't think anything's wrong." And then about 3 days later, I'll go, "Well, that thing you said was wrong. I've realised what it was." And I know I have just been. It sort of shows up in mostly lack of sleep and just, it's funny because I don't in one sense feel like I'm anxious, but in another way I feel like I'm twitchy, and I think where I see it also come out is I feel like, particularly with my kids, that the way I sort of manage them or respond to what they're doing or what's going on with them, it's a lot more reactive than I would like it to be, and which is, again, I'm actually usually not a very reactive person. I'm usually pretty slow to react to things, and think through things a lot and live in my head. So the fact that my kids sort of bring out this other side of me, and it feels like hard to strap that down. And so that's definitely a big part. And I think also, I talk about that, I think I've always carried a bit of a feeling of, it's a little hard to articulate, but I guess feeling not good enough, feeling like I'm a failure. And I know it's not actually tied to anything real. It's just this thing I think I've had again since I was pretty young, since I was a kid. And I couldn't really tell you what the origin of that kind of is. Mm-hmm. You know, I actually don't think it's because of like church. I know some people find that it's because they felt like the church always was condemning them, or, you know, that was the message, you know, we need Jesus because we're basically crap, and there might be some of that I sort of absorb, but I tend to feel like I know God's posture towards me is love. I know that He loves me. I know that He, you know, cares about me. I feel like He's always ready to talk to me, but it somehow doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't penetrate my sort of emotional reality. Even, and I wouldn't even say it's not like I don't feel it. Like, I don't know. It's hard to articulate what it is, but it definitely feels like just feeling like I'm pleasing God, like I'm succeeding in life. Those are things I find difficult to believe that I am. Mm-hmm. So and that definitely comes out sometimes how I interact with people. I tend to come across a little self-depreciating, and sometimes it's funny, but it's a bit,
And I think a lot of people would relate to that. I think a lot of people feel the same. You know, this need to please God, or to almost earn, or that, you know, are we good enough? You know, kind of a thing. What's something that you do that helps you? You know, because obviously a negative mindset like that, if we stew on it, can go and can take us down. It's like tying a brick to your ankle and jumping off a boat. If you let it, and it'll pull you down into the deep waters, and they get dark down there. So what do you do to you know, keep yourself recentered and focused on Jesus, and getting past those kind of thoughts?
That's a great question. I don't know if I have what I call a successful strategy for doing that, because mostly I internalize it and try to pretend it's not happening.
Stuff it down.
And then I get all stressed out in other ways. So I think, I know in the last while, I think this whole thing of COVID and all of that has really just put the squeeze on these things. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it is, it's funny because I honestly, sometimes I commute to work in Abbotsford on some of my days, and I've often felt like, I should be praying, and I often just felt like the Lord sort of saying, you know, let's just be quiet together, or, you know, or I've never done this the last while, just praying the Lord's Prayer, because I always thought that was kind of religious to just pray the same thing. But it feels like this is not about some kind of magic bullet. It's like this incremental thing of trying to connect to who Jesus wants to be to me. Because I know it's not Him that's critical of me. It's myself, and just trying to listen. I guess I was a few weeks ago. I think I was sometimes if I can't sleep, I'll get up and have a talk to the Lord, and I felt like he was talking about loving myself, which always sounds a bit flaky. I don't know, but I think what he just reminded me of the love chapter, Corinthians 13, where it says, what's the first thing it says about love? It says love is patient, and I kind of felt like he's saying, well, that's where you've got to start with yourself. You've got to be patient. That no, you're not perfect, and yeah, you do mess up, but patience means can you just sit in there and trust me that I accept you, but I'm also going to move you through those things, but it's not going to happen on your agenda, and being patient with yourself to not have to get it all figured out tomorrow. This afternoon by 3 p.m. you've got to have all your crap together. So I think those things, being part of the worship here, that's been really awesome. I think because that it takes you out of just being in your own context, right? I have these personal things, they're my feelings, but they're actually not only mine. They're ours. All of where we're at is, and when we come together and worship, and even though it hasn't been in person, just been with the crew, that when we do worship together here, that's been really special, and in some ways it's been so intimate because there's just been a few of us. And for me, music and worship is definitely one of the areas where my emotional and mental worlds sort of come together, and I can actually feel like I'm expressing the things that are inside me, and it helps me to do that. And so that's always really helpful.
Yeah, better. Usually I ask, what's something people, don't know about you. But maybe you can share that as well. But I was wondering, what are some terms in New Zealand that you would use that we would have no idea what it means, that we should be applying to our daily lives here today, if you can think right off the top of your head?
Okay. You asked me that, no, I can't think of any.
I remember walking there a few weeks ago and you called us blokes.
Oh, blokes, yeah.
Yeah, you called us blokes.
Yeah. So the only problem is I can't claim to be fully representative of true New Zealand culture that way, because my dad's British.
Okay.
So some of the things are a little British and some of them are Kiwi. Well, obviously there's just pronunciation. So the proper way to say the word awesome is awesome.
Awesome.
Awesome. That's proper. So that's a good thing. These little sayings like better than getting poked in the eye with a sharp stick or slapped in the face with a wet kipper.
Wait, getting slapped in the face with a what?
Wet kipper.
Is that a fish?
Yeah, fish. Yeah,
okay,
fish,
so
right.
wet.
Yeah, so
better than. So
it's a comparative statement.
Okay,
so, yeah. So that's one. Oh, geez, I'm drawing a blank. Well, there's a couple of words that I cannot say, so you have to edit this out.
Yeah.
I can't say that we're going to go to I have to say we're going to go to the second-hand shop as opposed to the pawn shop.
Okay.
Because you said pawn.
Pawn. The
when
pawn
I say
shop.
Pawn shop, it doesn't sound good.
No, I'm not cutting that out. I'm leaving that in. That's great.
Jeez.
Oh, you know what? Tom, when he used to lead worship here, he plays the guitar back upside down, but he plays a right-handed guitar left-handed.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't do certain chords because of the way he plays that, he would end up flipping the bird.
Flipping the bird, yeah.
Flipping the bird to the whole congregation because it's opposite, like a G or something like that is totally opposite.
Yeah.
So he plays his G totally different. But
So I can think of a few things. So in New Zealand, a sidewalk is a footpath.
Okay. Which makes sense.
We don't have four-way stops. Four-way stops when I first came here are like, this is the weirdest thing how do people not crash?
Just roundabouts.
Yeah, we have roundabouts and we have a lot of yield signs. So we don't have a four-way stop. We just pick one way gets to go and the other way has to wait. But
so it would be like where we would have stop signs for a four-way stop and all be yield. So as you're coming in approaching.
No, you'd have one way just gets the right of way all the time. The other two would be
Okay.
Okay. Or you'll have lights or roundabout. We have a lot of roundabouts.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see there's more roundabouts here.
That makes sense.
Just people need to know how to use them.
Yeah.
So when you go into the roundabout, if you're going to turn right, you indicate right. Mm-hmm. Or signal. See, there's another one. We say indicate. You say signal.
Indicate. Okay.
Yeah. That's our indicators.
Signal.
Yeah? Oh, the boot is the trunk.
Okay. Sorry. The trunk
boot,
of your car.
The trunk of your car is the boot.
Is the boot.
The hood is the bonnet.
See, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
The boot and the bonnet.
Yeah. I don't
Why?
know. I don't know.
Well, it's good, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for chatting, and some of you might not know, but Sam's been taking a larger role in the worship community and offloading a whole lot of that. So I'm very grateful for that. Taking the scheduling and working with the teams and the community nights and whatnot. So it's we're so grateful. I'm very grateful to have met you. You're a very sweet guy, and
thanks, mate.
Enjoying
Likewise.
getting to know you better more and more. And it's been good chatting again. I just I wish everybody would we could all get together and everybody just hang out because there's so many great people in our community.
Yeah.
So anyways, man, thanks for chatting.
Yeah.
And we'll throw this up on YouTube.
Okay. Cool.
Maybe a couple slight edits.
Yeah.
You can let me know.
Yeah, I didn't teach you New Zealand swear words, so.
Yeah. Okay, we'll end with one of those.
Bugger.
Wow.
I know Canadians sort of say
Would that be like a bad swear word in New Zealand?
It's uncouth.
Okay. Because I'm pretty sure I've called my kids buggers.
Yeah, you little bugger.
So if I said that in New Zealand, would people be like,
No, it's uncouth. Okay. It's not like a swear word, but if you want to see the really good application, there's an ad you can see on YouTube. It's the Toyota. You want to look it up. It's the Toyota bugger ad.
Okay.
And it's actually excellent. It's really good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. We'll end on that. Don't be a bugger.
No.